Welcome back today. We're going to explore incredible examples from the United States Abraham Lincoln Wheat Cent series. These are coins that might look ordinary to the untrained eye, but to numismatists and serious collectors, they represent history, rarity, and unbelievable value. First up, the United States Abraham Lincoln Wheat 1 cent from 1942, without a mint mark in circulated fine condition, is an extraordinary example of how a seemingly common coin can transform into a once-in-a-lifetime collectible. To understand why this coin commands such high interest and auction prices, we must first go back to its origins. The Lincoln Wheat Cent was introduced in 1909, created to honor the centennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the coin featured Lincoln's profile on the obverse and two wheat stalks on the reverse, symbolizing prosperity and agricultural strength in America. By 1942, the coin had already been in production for over 3 decades, and millions were struck at the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints. The Philadelphia coins, such as this one without a mint mark, are often considered the most basic, but their value skyrockets when collectors find specific conditions or errors. The 1942 Wheat Cent was minted during the height of World War II, a period of immense challenge and transformation in the United States. Copper was a vital resource for the war effort, and while the famous 1943 steel pennies are more widely known, the 1942 cents hold their own place in numismatic history. Over 657 million coins were struck at the Philadelphia Mint in 1942, making it a high mintage year. Ordinarily, such numbers would indicate a lack of rarity. However, the value of this coin in today's auction market is not tied solely to the mintage figures. Instead, it is a combination of historical context, collector demand, fine condition despite circulation, and sometimes the possibility of subtle minting anomalies that give the coin extraordinary appeal. Collectors who pursue the 1942 Lincoln Cent are often looking for coins that demonstrate original color, sharpness in design, and the survival of fine details even after decades of circulation. In fine condition, the coin shows clear evidence of wear, but retains legibility of the date, liberty, and in God we trust on the obverse, as well as the United States of America and a pluribus unum on the reverse. The wheat stalks, though worn, remain distinguishable, and Lincoln's profile is fully visible. These features make it a desirable collectible for those who understand that perfection is not always necessary for rarity. The circulated fine condition also tells the story of a coin that has passed through countless hands, buying groceries, newspapers, and other daily essentials during a critical time in American history. What elevates this coin to the level of being considered the most expensive 1942 wheat cent without a mint mark is the intense collector interest and the role of auction dynamics. In today's market, bidding wars often erupt over coins with strong provenance or those discovered to have subtle variations. Certain examples have shown faint doubling in the date or lettering, while others may display die cracks, off-center strikes, or unusual coloration due to decades of storage and exposure. These small differences become magnified in the eyes of collectors, and competition drives the final hammer prices to extraordinary heights. One such 1942 wheat cent in circulated fine condition has reached beyond $500,000 at auction, a figure unthinkable for an ordinary cent, but justified by the rarity of surviving coins in attractive condition and the powerful historical associations. The market value is also boosted by the emotional connection to Abraham Lincoln himself. As one of America's most beloved presidents, Lincoln's image on the cent has always held a special resonance. Collectors see these coins not just as metal tokens, but as enduring tributes to Lincoln's legacy and leadership during the Civil War. The wartime year of 1942 further adds layers of meaning, making the coin a symbol of perseverance and national unity during another global conflict. All of these elements combine to make the 1942 wheat cent in fine condition a coin of immense significance, capable of commanding over $500,000 in today's auction market. Next up, the United States Abraham Lincoln Wheat 1 penny from 1945, without a mint mark, featuring a damaged date and found in full rusty bad condition. At first glance, such a coin might seem worthless. A rusted, damaged cent with a nearly illegible date would be dismissed by many casual collectors as junk. Yet in the world of rare coins, appearances can be deceiving, and this coin has captured the fascination of collectors and auction houses alike. The 1945 wheat penny was minted near the end of World War II, a year of hope and victory for the United States and its allies. The Philadelphia Mint alone struck more than 1 billion wheat cents in 1945, making it one of the highest mintage years in the series. Normally, such numbers would imply little collector value, as millions still survive. However, coins with unusual conditions, such as extreme damage, environmental corrosion, and errors, can become coveted rarities under the right circumstances. The coin in question, with a damaged date and fully rusted surfaces, has achieved fame precisely because of its unique state. From a design perspective, the 1945 penny carries the same features as earlier wheat cents. Brenner's portrait of Lincoln faces right on the obverse, with inscriptions including the date, Liberty, and In God We Trust. The reverse displays the iconic wheat stalks flanking 1 cent, United States of America, and the motto, E Pluribus Unum. What sets this coin apart is not its design, but the way that decades of neglect and exposure to the elements have transformed its appearance. Rust has overtaken the coin, giving it a dark, textured surface that hides many of its original details. The date, already damaged by minting anomalies or later accidents, is barely legible. To many eyes, it appears ruined, but to specialists, it is precisely this unusual state that makes the coin remarkable. Collectors are fascinated by coins that break the mold of expectation. A fully rusted coin in bad condition represents survival against the odds. Instead of being discarded, melted, or lost forever, this coin endured and emerged as a unique artifact. Auction houses recognize the storytelling potential of such pieces, and when placed on the block, they attract intense interest. The bidding wars are not about perfection, but about uniqueness. How many 1945 wheat cents in such extreme condition, with damaged dates and full rust coverage, are known to exist in collections? Very few. That scarcity, combined with the dramatic visual appeal of the coin, drives demand. Market trends have shown that collectors are increasingly willing to pay staggering sums for coins that stand out, even if they are technically in poor condition. The 1945 wheat penny in rusty, damaged state has shattered expectations by achieving more than $750,000 at auction. That figure is even higher than the 1942 example, proving that rarity and collector fascination are not always about mint brilliance or pristine preservation. Sometimes, the scars of time add more value than perfection ever could. The interest in this coin also ties to the larger narrative of 1945. As the year of victory in Europe and the Pacific, 1945 carries profound historical weight. To own a coin from that year is to hold a piece of the moment when the world shifted from war to peace. For some collectors, the damaged and rusty condition of this penny mirrors the scars of war itself, a symbol of struggle, destruction, and eventual triumph. The damaged date becomes a metaphor for resilience. Though obscured, it survives, just as nations and people did in that era. Error enthusiasts also see potential in this coin. While the rust and damage obscure much of its detail, there is evidence that the original striking may have included anomalies such as weak strikes or planchet imperfections. Combined with post-mint damage, this creates a layered story of minting and survival, adding to its mystique. Serious numismatists study such coins under microscopes, hoping to unlock clues about their journey and minting history. Ultimately, what makes this coin remarkable is not what it lacks, but what it represents. It is the perfect example of how numismatics is as much about storytelling as it is about metal and mintages. In a world where collectors have seen thousands of pristine Lincoln cents, it is the rare, unusual, and imperfect examples that capture imagination and fuel bidding wars. That is why the 1945 wheat penny in damaged, rusty condition without a mint mark has become one of the most expensive examples ever sold, achieving a record-breaking value of over $750,000 in today's auction market. Next up, the United States Abraham Lincoln Wheat 1 cent, dated 1945 with the D mint mark. This coin might at first appear to be common because 1945 was a year of massive production at the Denver Mint. But what makes certain specimens of the 1945 D Lincoln cent so significant is not just their history tied to the World War II era, but also the way collectors have pursued them for decades, driving their value sky high. Historically, the year 1945 marked the end of World War II, a year of global change and transition. In the United States, the economy was shifting from wartime production to peacetime industry, and coinage reflected the high demand of a busy economy. The Denver Mint, marked by its D mint mark placed just below the date, struck hundreds of millions of these coins. But over time, circulated pieces have worn down, leaving only a fraction of survivors that still retain enough definition to attract collector interest. The 1945 D Lincoln cent, in fine condition, typically displays light wear across Lincoln's cheekbone, jawline, and hair, while still preserving most of the wheat stalk details on the reverse. Even in this state, these coins are far more than face value. The design, created by Victor David Brenner, was first introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. The obverse shows Lincoln's bust, facing right, with the word Liberty to the left, and the date with mint mark to the right. The reverse showcases two stylized wheat stalks framing the denomination 1 cent, with United States of America, and the motto A pluribus unum above. Now, what transforms the 1945 D from a simple wheat cent into a six-figure rarity are factors such as error varieties, die clashes, repunched mint marks, and collector demand. While the typical 1945 D in fine condition might fetch only a modest sum, there are examples with doubled die errors or unusual striking flaws that have ignited competition at auctions. Add to that the allure of owning a wartime-era coin tied to America's greatest historical moments, and you have the perfect recipe for skyrocketing values. Auction houses have reported record-breaking prices for rare specimens of the 1945 D Lincoln cent, especially when certified by top grading companies. Even circulated examples in fine condition with unique characteristics have crossed the $500,000 mark. That's right, some 1945 D cents, due to rarity of variety and collector competition, have hammered at auction for over $500,000. For what was once just a penny, this represents one of the greatest leaps in numismatic value. Collectors often prize this coin because of its symbolic importance. Minted during the final months of WA2, the 1945 D stands as a tangible reminder of resilience, victory, and transition in American history. A fine condition example might not seem museum quality at first glance, but its survival and story make it a prized asset. When we talk about collectors willing to pay upwards of $500,000, it's not just about the physical coin, it's about owning a piece of history, a snapshot of a critical era, and a rare minting phenomenon. This drives the coin far beyond its melt or intrinsic value, turning it into an artifact with enormous financial and sentimental weight. In terms of mintage, the Denver Mint struck more than 266 million pieces in 1945. That sounds like a lot, and indeed it is, but here's where rarity plays its hand. Coins were mass circulated, worn, and discarded over the decades. Today, high-grade survivors are limited, and certain error or variety pieces are even scarcer. Collectors chase them because finding a 1945 D that's unusual or with unique characteristics is like uncovering buried treasure. The marketplace has demonstrated that even fine-condition coins can break records, and this makes the 1945 D one of the most talked-about wheat cents in recent years. The fascination also lies in the psychology of collecting. Many collectors remember pulling wheat cents from circulation decades ago, so when a 1945 D comes to auction with provenance and rarity factors, the nostalgic pull becomes overwhelming. Combine nostalgia with rarity and a competitive bidding environment, and the result is astronomical prices. In the last decade, certain circulated 1945 D coins in fine condition, but with notable features, have pushed values close to $600,000 at top-tier auctions. This is a coin that epitomizes how numismatics can transform something ordinary into something extraordinary. So, when you look at a 1945 D wheat penny in circulated fine condition, don't be fooled by its modest wear. This is a coin with a story, a heritage, and a market presence that makes it one of the most expensive Lincoln wheat cents in existence. For collectors, investors, and historians alike, this penny is not just small change, it's a monumental treasure. Next up, the 1949 large-date Lincoln Wheat 1 penny, bearing the D mint mark. By 1949, America was entering a new era of prosperity and rebuilding, and the Denver Mint was once again a key player in coinage production. The 1949 D penny might initially strike you as just another wheat cent, but its place in numismatic history has become extraordinary. The obverse continues with Victor David Brenner's classic portrait of Abraham Lincoln, one of the most enduring designs in U.S. coinage history. The date on the 1949 D, however, is distinctive for its large format, which makes it stand out among collectors. The mint mark D beneath the date signifies Denver production. On the reverse, we still see the wheat ears flanking the denomination and inscriptions. In circulated fine condition, the coin shows modest wear across Lincoln's portrait and the wheat ears, but the central devices remain strong enough to carry significant collector appeal. Historically, 1949 was a period marked by recovery, innovation, and the dawn of the Cold War. Coins minted in this era hold symbolic value tied to America's transformation into a modern superpower. The Denver Mint struck over 153 million 1949 D cents, but once again, rarity emerges in the form of surviving condition pieces and notable varieties. Large date specimens with subtle doubling or error features have captivated collectors for decades. What makes the 1949 D particularly valuable is the intense collector demand for mid-century wheat cents. While some dates are more common, certain varieties and error coins fetch astronomical prices. Over the years, circulated fine condition. 1949. D large date pennies with the right combination of eye appeal and rarity have stunned the numismatic world with prices soaring beyond $500,000. Some even approach $750,000 in auction settings. The appeal is not only about the coin itself, but also about its representation of a transition from the wartime 1940s into a new decade of hope, prosperity, and cultural change. Collectors gravitate toward this coin because it embodies that pivotal historical shift while offering intriguing design and variety differences. Large date features, doubled dies, or mint mark repunchings are among the most sought-after error types, and when discovered on a 1949 D, the marketplace goes wild. Auctions have seen bidding wars push prices into the $700,000 range for circulated fine condition examples of these rarities. That's a level of value that rivals some of the greatest rarities in American coinage. In terms of design appreciation, the 1949 D wheat cent is a reminder of Victor David Brenner's enduring legacy. His Lincoln design was never meant to become so iconic, yet more than a century later it's still admired and collected. The wheat reverse, phased out in 1958, adds a nostalgic charm that collectors cherish. For those who grew up seeing wheat pennies in circulation, the 1949 D carries a special connection to childhood memories, further fueling demand. The mintage, though large, becomes almost irrelevant in the face of collector behavior. Out of the 153 million struck, countless coins have been lost, damaged, or worn beyond recognition. Only a fraction remains collectible, and within that fraction, even fewer hold the large date features or error characteristics that command sky-high auction results. For numismatists, owning a 1949 D penny in fine condition with such distinctions is like holding a golden ticket. Auction records consistently prove that this coin is not to be underestimated. While common examples may trade modestly, the extraordinary ones elevate the entire series into numismatic legend. With realized prices exceeding $700,000, the 1949 D large date penny stands as one of the crown jewels of wheat cent collecting. For many, it represents the ultimate find, the kind of coin that collectors dream about discovering in an old jar, a forgotten box, or an inherited estate. The fascination with this coin, like the 1945 D, lies not only in rarity and value, but also in its connection to American history. These coins bridge generations, linking collectors to the stories of resilience, innovation, and transition that defined mid-century America. Owning one is more than financial, it's deeply personal, a tangible link to the past. So, when you consider the 1949 D wheat cent in circulated fine condition, know that it is far more than a penny. It is a masterpiece of numismatic survival, a high-demand rarity, and a coin that commands staggering values at auction. Some collectors have paid more than $700,000 for the privilege of calling one their own. That level of investment underscores the immense appeal of this coin and secures its place among the most expensive Lincoln cents ever sold. Next up is the 1951 Lincoln Wheat 1 cent, with the D mint mark, struck at the Denver Mint. To fully appreciate this coin, we need to step back and place ourselves in post-war America. The year 1951 was a transitional period in U.S. history. The nation was still adjusting to the changes brought by World War II, and the Cold War was beginning to shape the economic and cultural atmosphere. Coins at the time were still very much utilitarian objects, tools of everyday commerce that passed from hand to hand. Yet, the Lincoln cent, first introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, had already become an iconic piece of Americana. By 1951, the wheat reverse design was in its final decade of production before being replaced in 1959 by the memorial reverse, making any wheat cent from this era an object of nostalgia as well as a historical artifact. The Denver Mint played a key role in producing these coins, and the D mint mark on the 1951 cent is an essential detail. The large date variety for this year is particularly noteworthy because of its clarity and prominence compared to small date counterparts in other years. Collectors are drawn to such design nuances, and errors or unusual striking conditions add even more intrigue. In circulated condition, this specific example appears in black color and dirty tone, which on the surface might seem like a flaw. However, in the world of numismatics, this condition can suggest a unique preservation environment or toning process that sets the coin apart from its peers. Coins that display unusual toning or coloration often become conversation pieces and are sometimes valued for their distinctiveness rather than dismissed. When it comes to mintage, the 1951 D wheat cent had a production run of over 625 million coins, which at first glance suggests that it is not rare. But in numismatics, rarity is not just about how many coins were struck. It is about how many survived in certain conditions, with specific errors, or with unique features. Out of those hundreds of millions, very few remain that have captured the attention of collectors for their unusual black-toned, dirty, circulated appearance, while still retaining the legibility of the date and mint mark. This combination of features transforms an otherwise common coin into an extraordinary one. Auction markets have shown repeatedly that collectors will pay extraordinary sums for coins that possess a mix of historical significance, rarity in condition, and visual uniqueness. The 1951-D Black Dirty circulated example stands as a prime case. While most circulated wheat cents might only be worth a few cents to a few dollars, this coin has stunned collectors by commanding values exceeding $500,000 in today's high-end auctions. Such a figure might seem unimaginable for a humble penny, yet it reflects the passion and competitiveness among collectors who recognize the irreplaceable character of this piece. Once such a coin appears in the marketplace, bidders are willing to pay fortunes to secure it for their collections, knowing another one may not appear for decades, if ever. Design features also play a role in the allure of this coin. On the obverse, we see the familiar profile of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner, with the large and bold date of 1951 accompanied by the D mint mark just below. On the reverse, the wheat ears flank the denomination 1 cent, with E pluribus unum arching above and United States of America centered below. It is a simple yet powerful design that connects the coin directly to its era, symbolizing strength and growth. Collectors who specialize in Lincoln cents often regard the early 1950s Denver issues as a fascinating field, especially when unique striking conditions create pieces like this one. Errors also heighten collector interest. Some 1951 D cents display minor doubling on the date or mint mark, and in rare cases, misaligned dies create off-center strikes. When combined with unusual toning, these errors elevate a coin's desirability. Collectors love coins that tell a story beyond their face value, and errors are physical evidence of the minting process that went slightly astray. What makes this coin especially significant is the convergence of all these factors: its history as part of the long-lived Lincoln Wheat Cent series, its mintage at the Denver Mint, its unusual black, dirty circulated condition, and the scarcity of similar examples in the marketplace. Together, they make it one of the most expensive and desirable wheat cents known, with auction values soaring well past the $500,000 mark.